Hey guys, hope you're doing well after the festive period. These are my thoughts on Star Wars The Last Jedi. So normally I'd kick us off with the themes. I'm not going to talk about the themes for Star Wars because unless you've been living under a rock for the whole of the 80s, then you will have seen the originals or seen the prequels. And I feel that I don't want to waste your time talking about old concepts that I'm sure you're all familiar with. I will, however, say that J.J. Abrams brings his classic, action-packed, fast-paced explosions, special effects, feeling like you're always waiting for the next explosion, waiting for the next big moment. He has many of those in this movie, and fans of the original Star Trek reboot will feel extremely comfortable with his style of direction, moving from one franchise to this one. Maybe they might feel a little bit disenfranchised that it swapped over to Star Wars, but the pace of it and the way that it's filmed feels very much like that reboot. The classic aesthetics are there from the original movies, the way that it's shot, the colours that is used, the special effects, the practical effects, the costume designs. Basically, it's all there. What you'd expect from a Star Wars movie is in the movie. And I think that's why a lot of us go and see Star Wars movies, so that we can get back to those themes, get back to those points of nostalgia that hit home, and remind us of our first experiences with the movies as a whole. So if you're looking for that, you're going to get that. That's nice to see. There is a underlying worry of the struggles of the Force, which is a theme that has been brought from the original franchises, and it is it's a staple of Star Wars movies, so that's not missing either. The struggle with the dark side and the light, and characters having that struggle, which side to lean on. Is it safe to be in a grey area? What grey characters are going to swing either way? That is all there, and I think that's a nice segue into the story. So the bulk of what I have to say will be about the story today, because I feel like there's hits and misses running throughout the picture. There is certain characters have established an arc from the Force Awakened, and I feel that their arcs have been tampered with slightly. Finn's character in particular I really enjoyed in The Force Awakens, and I feel like his story has been kind of watered down slightly in this one. They have tried their best to give all of the characters the right amount of space to develop the storylines of themselves as best as they can. So each character has their own time in the movie, and probably for the actors enough time, but the way that time is used for Finn in particular, I feel makes the film poorer as a whole, to the point where it sounds a little bit harsh, but he might not have been needed to have been included quite as much as he is in this film. Because the story is driven by Rey's character so hard, the points where we're not talking about the rebels against the First Order, and we're not talking about Rey and Luke in this one, feel like a waste of our time, and you feel that in the movie while you're watching it. there is a moment in the movie where they take us away from the action, maybe to give the fans a breath, a bit of a break, to look at the pacing in the movie. But I feel that that moment is the poorest part of the film. Certain time has to be given to give the fans world building and establish world building, and I completely understand that. But I'm sure when you all watch the movie and you get to the part where the part that I'm talking about now, you will hopefully understand why I've picked it up and mentioned it. I feel that if they wanted to use Finn's character, they should have developed his story arc in a more personal way, rather than introducing new characters or having certain resolutions happen for his character. I feel like they have missed a trick in not having him get a really satisfying finish for his arc in maybe a third movie. Maybe rushing the character back slightly after what happened in The Force Awakens. Kylo's character is one of the stronger characters, I'd say. If you didn't like him as a villain in the original, it might not matter so much to you in this one, because I think they give you just enough Kylo. And they let his character develop using backstory around other characters, which is very clever and is a nice way of telling a story without spoon feeding you the story. That is a much nicer way of handling backstory than the way that they've pushed Finn's story forward, put it like that. There is certain characters that are used in the story which are part of this filler that I'm talking about, that you don't need to know about, and doesn't take the story forward. It doesn't enhance the story, doesn't enrich the story, and I felt like it was a waste of my time in the cinema watching it. I hope that's not the case for you, and I hope that you enjoyed those world building aspects, but for me, I think that time could have been given to other aspects of the story that would have made the film much better. The relationship between Rey and Luke, I don't feel like we see enough interaction between those two. I feel like you see a lot of conflict, but you don't see a lot of resolution. And I don't feel like you're wholeheartedly rewarded for the time that you watch those two bashing heads with each other. There's no payback at the end, really. Maybe a little bit, but not enough to warrant any real feelings between the two characters. I feel like Rey is a mirror of Luke in the story, and Luke is obviously his old master, is become Master Yoda. That's because of his thoughts of failure in the movie and the shame of defeat against the dark side. Those themes are well represented, and they enrich the story. That's quite an aspect of his character that I really enjoyed in the movie. The mirror of those characters, and how it's even in the movie. He even says there's a poignant moment where masters and apprentices become alike, and that part of the movie I enjoyed. The storytelling for that is really accomplished, and it makes you wonder why other parts of the story lack when there's so much thought put into those moments. They are fan rewards for having knowledge of previous Star Wars movies, and those are like little pats on the back while you're watching the movie. Those are really nice aspects that they included in the story. There is I forget what it's called, the main fighter pilot story. I originally thought he was going to be a mirror of Han Solo, just because he's this renegade pilot, is this wisecracking tough guy, and there's little bounces back to Han, and I think that they've moved and taken that away from his character in Force Awakens. In The Last Jedi, from The Force Awakens, and passed that mantle on to Finn. So they're like vying for to be the next Han character in this one and in future movies, by the looks of it. But those two, I don't want to say actors, I want to say characters, aren't strong enough to take that mantle, because Han is a legendary character in Star Wars, and I don't think Finn's character or the fighter pilot in the story, I don't think they are strong enough characters to take that mantle up. And the fact that they're messing with that, it's strange to watch. That they have an archetype or an arc for a character developed in The Force Awakens, and then they tamper with it in the movie directly after, is odd and feels strange. I don't think that's just me either. I was talking to one of my friends about it, and he felt similar. I think that the story is polarizing. I'd say that. My overall feeling of the story when I left the cinema was that it was good. But if you break parts of the story down and you think about where time was wasted, it kind of takes some of the sheen off of the film. And then the more you think about the sheen being taken away, the more you wonder if you did actually like the movie. I think that's a shame for the amount of obvious effort that was put into parts of the story, and great acting, because the actors really do give a great performance. I'll move the story on in part because I just want to keep touching on the story because there's so much, but I'll move it onto the acting. Generally, the acting was good in the movie. All of the new cast were fantastic. Even though I've slated Finn's story, Finn gave a solid performance. Rey gave a solid performance. Rey's character, sorry. Kylo's character was great in this. The acting on his part was fantastic. There's touches of weakness in Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker, but I think that's story based, and the parts where he was given time to shine as an actor, he knocked out the park. He was fantastic in this. It's just certain aspects of story that kind of tarnished some of his acting. The actors only have the script to work with and the moment, and it's hard to fulfill brilliant artwork when you have poor segments of story to be dealing with. So I feel for the actors on that side. Carrie Fisher in this movie, I want to say was fantastic, and I want to praise her for all of her past work, and everything that made Leia what she is. But as a whole, I think she was one of the weakest characters in the Force. In the Last Jedi. Her story was very weak. The segments of her story was weak, and I feel that's such a shame for the legacy that she'll leave behind. And I would have loved to have seen her have a massive moment in this movie, and to go out on a high and, you know, hit the critics across the head. But there's certain parts of the story that really didn't help her character. It really didn't help her give the acting performance that we all wanted. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there is a moment in the film which I think if you're a fan of the prequels, you will feel comfortable with, but if you're a fan of the originals, you won't be comfortable with. There's an established story to do with the Force and what the Force is capable of doing and what it isn't capable of doing. If you're a real sci-fi, if you're a real Star Wars geek, that will grate on you, that moment in the story. I'm a Star Wars geek. I don't mind admitting that. Big fan of the originals, and that moment in the film, if you was a die-hard fan, it could have been a walkout moment. I feel that strong about it. It was not great to include in that film, and for that character. There is you finally find out some of Rey's lineage storyline, which is poor as well, I feel anyway. Unless it's a diversion to what is really going to be her lineage in the third movie. Maybe it is, and I hope it is, but it wasn't. It wasn't a fan reward from watching The Force Awakens. The build up for The Force Awakens to this movie, it was a bit of a letdown, the reveal. And then there's Snork's character. He was built up as this big character as well. There's a lot of fan theories going around about what importance his character was in the grand scheme of the story, the canon story of Star Wars. And you know, there was rumours, is he Darth Plagueis? You know, Darth Sidious, did he actually kill Darth Plagueis? Did he think he'd killed him, and had he come back because he had a mastery over the Force that let him regenerate himself, and that's where his scars came from? There's all these great fan theories, but it just looks like he's just a Sith Lord. Yeah, I didn't enjoy his reveal. I'm not going to go too much into that because I don't want to give major spoilers away about the movie. Hopefully you've all seen the film, and there's aspects of what I'm saying that hit home for you. I don't want to be really negative about the movie, but I just didn't feel like there was enough grandiose moments. Maybe it's this second film, you know, like a bit like a second series syndrome, where they're never quite as good as the predecessor. This film definitely isn't as good as The Force Awakens. Another thing about the story that I picked up straight away, when you get into the cinema and you hear those blistering noises, you know, the duh moment, and the story rolls down, and you get all those tingles on the back of your neck. The first thing that I do is I read the story. I'm sure all of you do. I read the story, and it gives you an outline. It's why it's there. It's why it rolls down. It gives you an outline of what to expect and where we are in the grand scheme of the movie. And I just got from that, they've pitched another Empire Strikes Back. The original Force Awakens got a lot of flack for looking like they was trying to recreate A New Hope, and you can see that when you watch The Force Awakens. And in this movie you can see a lot of aspects of them trying to recreate Empire, I think. And now I don't think there's anything wrong with a nod of the head, tip of the cap to what was there before and why we love Star Wars so much. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that there's anything wrong with mirroring certain aspects of the originals, but to follow complete storylines and to follow complete aesthetics of original films, I don't like, because it's just like recycled. I don't want to finish that. That was really disappointing to me, because you don't go to the cinema to watch something you've seen before. It's meant to be a new experience, and then once it goes to DVD you will watch it countless times. So you don't want to watch countless times of something that you've already seen from another film. You know, you go to watch something over and over again because it's so good on its own. You don't go and see something because it's using an established movie already. I hope that makes sense. That's how I feel anyway. I feel like they've done that a little bit too much, and I'm hoping that when they get through to the third film it will be a complete fresh standalone film, and the nods or the tip of the hats that they do in the third film will be new and exciting, because although they've taken themes from the original movies, it's its own thing. It's its own story, its own segment, and it has its own life. And that's what I want out of the third film. Moving on to the special effects. They were good. They were Abram top marks, exciting, blistering paced moments, what you've come to expect from J.J. Abrams. Like I said in the intro, harping back to his days on Star Trek reboot, that kind of pace, that kind of fast action, beautiful cinematic shots, you know, ships turning over, blasters, you know, beautiful colours mixed with dark tones, vibrant hits here and there of splashes of lights, and you know, all eye candy while you're watching it, and those parts are beautiful in the movie, and on that side it's fantastic, and the CGI is just enough, and there is practical effects in the movie, and there is fantastic practical costumes on characters, monsters, aliens, those parts of the movie really hug you and take you back to why you love Star Wars, and they are fantastic in the movie. There is lovely sound effects, lovely, beautiful big beats and quiet noises, and quirky little Star Wars sounds, original sounds that make you feel at home, and give you a little smile, because it, like I said before, nostalgia kicks in, and you know, you get a pat on the back on that side at least from the movie. My general impression of the movie as a whole is that I enjoyed the movie, and I really liked certain parts of the story, and as a general world build, as a general second film, I'd give the film probably a 7.5 out of 10, and I did like the film, but I just didn't like certain aspects of the film that really grated on me, and I think will be the same for all of you as well. But as a general whole, it's enjoyable to watch, and sets up hopefully a fantastic third installment. Yes, yeah, I think as a general, I'd feel comfortable at about a 7 or 7.5 out of 10 for it. Let me know what you thought. Let me know in the comments below. Message me if you agree with me or if you disagree with me. Please like, subscribe, and yeah, leave comments. Let me know what you thought. Hopefully you'll have come watch the video before you watch the film, and then we'll get some messages off of you, and then we'll have a mixture of people who've seen the film and people that haven't seen the film. Please don't drop any spoilers in the comments for people, but I'd like a little debate, a little discussion on what you guys thought of the film. Let me know underneath, like I say. Like, subscribe, and share. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you all had a nice Christmas, and I'll see you in the next one.